Welcome back to the video. We're back with our Final Fantasy Commander video. This time not so much a deck profile. This time we're doing a ranking of the commanders. I figure with having built so many decks for this set, let's talk about which ones we think are the most fun, which ones we think are the most powerful. This is only like a ranking in terms of other Final Fantasy commanders, like comparing them to each other, not necessarily comparing them in terms of Magic as a whole. We did mess up the first time we tried making this video by accidentally stopping the recording. So here we are again. That's why some of these are out of order compared to how the link may look. Just because I didn't make this, I'll post the link to the tier maker website link that I used to make this down there in the description, so you guys have a chance to rank your own commanders and even like share who your 5 favorite are in the comment section. We'll be ranking it down by colors just because that's the way it's set up here on the tier list. We may end up ranking into multiple parts, like depending on the color, then maybe monocolored versus multicolored. We'll see. We'll see how long the videos end up taking. But let's get started. We're gonna start off with a few D tiers just because we messed it up, the order up. Started off with a Delbert Steiner. Lifelink for 2-1. Delbert Steiner gets +1/+1 for each equipment you control. There's a lot of equipment commanders in this set. There's a lot of equipment commanders in mono white even. Is he the most powerful one? No. Is he one of the best ones? I don't think so. Can he get pretty strong if you have enough equipment on the board and eventually swing into gain you a whole bunch of life and deal a whole bunch of damage? Sure. I mean, I guess so. But is he gonna be the one you're gonna build around? I don't think he really has a way to start the game plan on his own. I think there's just better mono white equipment commanders on this list. Following up, we have Ambrosia Whiteheart, a 1 white and for a 2/2 with flash. When Ambrosia Whiteheart enters, you may return another permanent you control to its owner's hand, allowing you a little bit more blink. Allows you blink with flash as well. There's not really any other blink commanders in this set. It also has landfall. When a land you control enters, Ambrosia Whiteheart is +1/+0 until end of turn. So it's good in terms of the blink strategy. Flash in the command zone is not necessarily that strong. It'll put your opponent on edge about swinging on you, but having it in your hand would actually allow you to block with it. And also if you flash this in, having an Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic Expanse, I just think this is better as a card in a deck more than it is in its own deck. Just because landfall isn't really going to be that helpful in mono white, but having the blink ability is pretty fun. So still ends up in D tier, but that's C. D tier for me here. Just because I think there's better mono white commanders out there. Following that up, we have, what's their name? Elena, Turk Recruit. When Elena enters, return target non-assassin historic card from your graveyard to your hand. Whenever you cast a historic spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Elena. Once again, there's just better equipment commanders in this set. She doesn't have a way to get the game plan started. She's more of a piece that you'll put into another deck in order to make sure your combos or whatever you're trying to do can keep on going. More than she is one that you'll put in the command zone in order to have her be the star of the show. She's good at what she does, just do you want it in a command zone? I don't necessarily think so. Following that up, we have Cyan, Vengeful Samurai. Spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature card in your graveyard. We're in mono white. It's 7 mana for a Dredri, but cost reduction is pretty nice there. Double strike, whenever one or more creatures leaves your graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on Cyan. Once again, we're in mono white is the only thing with this card. So while it is good in terms of being a 1 mana Dredri eventually, are you going to get there in mono white? Do you have enough spells that are able to mill you into this card? I think once again, it's a card that's just better in another deck than it is in its own deck. Maybe you want to build green white for, no, green doesn't have that many ways to put stuff in the graveyard. Black white, something along those lines. More than it will be in its own deck. So I think just a cost reduction for a 1/3 double strike is still nice, so I'm still going to put it in C tier off of that. But, not necessarily the best commander still. Beatrix, Loyal General, Vigilance for 6 mana for a 4/4. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may attach any number of equipment you control to target creature you control. Being able to have a commander that, you know, gets all your equipment onto one creature is pretty strong. It helps you. It has a fun little build around where you could build a whole bunch of like Colossus Hammer cost equipments. Is it necessarily the best in terms of like what it does? Like, would it be better as just like a card in like a Cloud deck or a Captain America deck or even I forgot her name, Ash, in terms of like getting that? Because she doesn't really have a way to get the game plan started, and she is 6 mana, so eventually you'll have enough equipment by the time you get her on the board, hopefully. But just like without a way to progress that game plan forward, I think it falls into C tier for me. Following that up with another commander from the, what are they called, precons. We have, what's her name? Alcé Louvoyer, partner with Alphanod Louvoyer. This is just ranking her in terms of a vacuum here. She may end falling like B or C if you had the partner, but she has first strike, second spell you cast each turn, costs 2 less to cast. So, like, once again, is she good? I think so. I think having something cost 2 less to cast is pretty okay. Is she good on her own as the commander? I think you'd prefer to build around like another commander and like have her as like a card in your Jeskai deck than you would as her own. But still, like I said, still a pretty okay effect, earning her that C tier. Following it up, we have Oron, what's his Venerated Guardian. 4 mana for a 2/5 with Vigilance. When he attacks, put +1/+1 counter on it. Exile target creature defending player controls with power less than Oron's power until Oron leaves the battlefield. May have been a little bit better if they did the less than or equal to. Once again, people tend to feel threatened if you have removal in the command zone. So, like, is it going to be good in a deck? Yes. Is it going to be good on its own as the commander? How do you build around it other than, like, putting a whole bunch of, like, either +1/+1 counters on our equipment or just, like, ways to buff it where, like, then people will just be like, oh, we got to destroy it. It's going to remove all of our stuff. No one wants to get their stuff removed, so no one's going to let this survive long enough for it to be big enough to really get your big plays off. So I think with people saving that removal for it and just like being in the command zone as like an obvious removal piece, I think that puts it in C tier for me. That's B. Puts it in C tier for me. Following it up, we have the Source of the Infinite combo for what's it called? The Cloud, not Cloud, Titus Precon. We have, what is their name? Sorry, 1 second. But yeah, like I said, following up, we have Gana and Luzu. Source of Infinite combo with the Walking Ballista in the Titus Precon. Flash for 1/1 for 3 mana. Once again, I'm not necessarily a fan of Flash in the command zone. When Gana and Luzu enters, choose target creature control. Could be themselves. If damage would be dealt to that creature this turn, prevent that damage. Put that many +1/+1 counters on it. Prevents damage from a turn. I don't think you can necessarily do the infinite combo in mono white. I mean, you could have the Walking Ballista, you could have this card. I can. No, Annoying Procession only doubles tokens. So I don't think you necessarily have a way to double those counters in mono white. So, like, is it an okay card? Eh, it's okay. I mean, like, the fact that it allows that combo is fun. But, like, a 1/1 with Flash that, like, basically prevents damage to one creature for 1 turn, I think that's to me. It's just going to go into the D tier there. Next up, we have Ash, Princess of Dalmasca. When Ash attacks, look at the top 5 cards of your library, reveal an artifact from among them, put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Could have worked better with Cyan, whatever his name was, if it put them into a graveyard instead, but here we are getting our artifacts. A little bit of search power helps you determine your game plan, helps you get some little bit of draw power off that essentially. I think high C, low B based on that, just because you do have to swing in with it every time. There's plenty of ways in like artifacts and equipments in order to make it unblockable, so like that's nice. In terms of are you gonna just run a little bit of surge power, not even like surge power, just like draw power in the command zone? Yeah, I think plenty of people would. Is it going to be the strongest one? No. But, like, I think it's a solid C still. Like, high C, low B. We could always move it around if we don't like where it is later. Following up, we have Diane, Bahamut's Dominant, Dragonfire Dive. During your turn, Diane and other knights you control have flying. Once again, we're in mono white. Plenty of ways to make knight tokens. When Diane enters, create a 2/2 white knight creature token. Um, Exile Diane, then return it to the battlefield, transform under its owner's control, allowing you to blink it in terms of getting that ability back again and again. In terms of like the, what is it called? Enchantment Saga, legendary enchantment creature. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Those creatures gain flying, allowing you to swing in. Knights do like making tokens as well, so it does pair pretty well with the first part. And then you can blink it to return it, destroy target permanent. A little bit of removal there. But it's on the backside, so people tend not to read that far. It is still 6 mana to transform it, and it's 4 mana on its own for a 3/3. I think still solid B tier there for me, though. Following that up, we have Sid, one of them, Sid Free Flyer Pilot. Try saying that 5 times fast. Equipment and vehicle spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Jump during your turn, Sid it's flying, so it can't block other flyers. Return target equipment or vehicle card from your graveyard to your hand. So he has recursion. He has not cost reduction, flying. He does have cost reduction with equipment and vehicles costing 1 less to cast. I think it's another one of those ones that just fits well into a deck, but like building a deck around this on its own, not necessarily gonna be the strongest strategy, but like still with the recursion and the cost reduction, I think still earns a solid C. Coming up next, we have Arid Gainsborough. For 2 and a white, we have a 2/2 with lifelink, where whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on Arid, and whenever Arid gets destroyed, put a X +1/+1 counters onto each legendary creature you control. So we have a few fun strategies here together with life gain, +1/+1 counters, legendary creatures, all of which work really well together, especially in mono white, with just some good staple like legendary creatures, some easy way to gain life with the Soul Ward and Soul Sisters. Whole bunch of things that just say when a creature enters, gain 1 life. Even just some artifacts that are really good at doing it too. If you want the full deck profile, make sure you check that out. This is probably my favorite mono white commander, but being in mono white does hurt it just a little bit. So we're still just going to put in the A tier there. Might end up moving into S tier. If you do also want gameplay footage of that, maybe that video will be posted by now where we have the commander gameplay. Following up with another super strong one, we have Cloud Midgar Mercenary. For 2 white, we have a 2/1 where when Cloud enters, search your library for an equipment, reveal it, put it into your hand. Surge power, right in the command zone. Love to see it. A little bit stronger surge power than Ash's ability. And also, his secondary ability makes him even stronger, where as long as Cloud is equipped, any equip abilities or Cloud abilities happen at additional time. I mean, that just has to be in A tier as well. Once again, being in mono white does hurt it just a little bit here, just because while we do have all the really good removal spells with Source Plowshares, Generous Gifts, Path to Exiles, I mean, just being in one color does still hurt a little bit. I feel like S tier has to be saved for the creme de la creme. But still, like I said, really good commander, really good search power, really good making sure you get all those like equipment abilities off again and again. It just helps you out a whole bunch. Once again, another deck profile we got down there in the playlist if you want to check that out. Following that up though, we have General Leo Christoph. When he enters, return up to 1 target creature with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, then put a +1/+1 counter onto him for each creature you control. He's 5 mana for 2/2 starting off. Could get pretty strong. Good recursion. No way to get things into the graveyard with him. But just that recursion in the command zone, I'm going to put that probably either in C or D tier. I mean, I feel like it deserves C, but like I also put her down here for only having the certain, and it's only 3 or less, but with mono white that works out really well. He would work really well in a Squall Seed Mercenary deck more than he would as his own deck, I'm pretty sure. It's tough to put him in the command zone. is the only thing. And especially for like 5 mana in white, I think, nah. And we don't have really that many ways to get things into the graveyard, similar to this guy. So I think they'll unfortunately put him in the D tier as much as I want to put him in C. Next, we have Jirahatia. Reach whenever one or more other creatures you control. Sorry, whenever one or more creatures or artifacts you control gets removed, this draw a card. Happens only once each turn. It's a little bit of draw power. You have a whole bunch of white creatures that could sacrifice themselves. Happens once each turn, so you keep doing your during your opponent's turn. I want to put it in C, but I think it might deserve. I think like high D, low C for this one, just because like the draw power is nice. You could do food tokens with it and have that be like pretty powerful, as we made a video on that. But still, just like it's once each turn, so you can't like keep repeating it during your turn. But being able to do it during your opponent's turn is really good. Yeah, let's leave it in D for now. We can always move things around. Next we have Heidegger, Shinra Executive. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature control gets +X+0, where X is number of soldiers you control. At the beginning of your end step, create a number of 1/1 soldier creature tokens equal to the number of opponents who control more creatures than you. So this is a little bit backwards, because you want it to have a lot of creatures in order to get the most out of +X+0. But you don't want that many creatures, because then that doesn't work too well. Oh, this is a multicolored one. I don't know why this one's up here. We'll move it down for now. I just think the backwards like compatibility, if it's not backwards compatibility, the weird like compatibility issue with it is a little bit weird for this one. We do have sacrifice synergies, especially with something like Draha. I think still just creating a token is nice, and that stat boost is nice. Speaking of your end step too, so you could swing in and then get extra tokens. But I just think I think C still, just because like you could create 3 tokens potentially if you're at in a certain position. Not like that often, but like the fact that you can create 3 tokens off your commander is always nice. But following that, we have Vanat, Heart of Hydaelyn. For 2 mana, you get a 3/3. Whenever you cast a legendary spell, draw a card. This ability happens once each turn. Then you pay 7 mana to transform it into Hydaelyn, the Mother Crystal. Oh, this one's this is 14. I thought this would have been 16 because Mother Crystal thing. Indestructible at the beginning of combat on your turn. Put a +1/+1 counter on another target creature you control. Until your next turn, it gains indestructible. If that creature is legendary, draw a card. So, cast legendary spell, draw a card. So a little bit of draw power. Only happens once each turn. And this transformation does cost 7. That's pretty pricey. I think this may end up in D tier again. Oof. I mean, I feel like it is okay, just in terms of like what we're looking to do. I just think there's like some better options out there. So like it is just a little bit of draw power. Next we have Minwu, White Mage, 5 mana for 3/3. Okay, stack line isn't great, but it's Vigilance, Lifelink. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on each cleric you control. Huh, why is this the first time I'm looking at this one? Is Aerith a cleric? Aerith is a human cleric. Those work well together, and that's also a legendary creature. I should have put this in my Aerith deck. I don't know why I didn't. Probably because I didn't pull it from a pack and I forgot it existed. I like that. I mean, it's not why a lot of clerics are in black, but being able to power up your creatures, it doesn't have any like draw power, no search power, so it can't go in A tier. I think it is a solid B though. Yeah, I feel comfortable with that one in B tier. It is still like a really like cool like thing you could do, especially if you keep doing like the gain 1, gain 1, gain 1 like you're doing off Aerith. That works out really well together. Following that, we have Rosa, Resolute White Mage, Reach. Okay, it's an archer. 4 mana for a 2/3. Being combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, gains lifelink till end of turn. So it's Reach, no lifelink forever, no way to progress your game state. It's good in the Minwoo deck or the Eric deck as its own commander, though. Don't think it deserves a spot as commander because, like, oh, I got a little bit of life gain and 1+1/+1 counter off my commander. You're not running that as a commander. That's going in D tier. Who is this next guy? This is Snow Villiers. Power equal to the number of creatures you control. Vigilance. X3. No, it doesn't do anything. I feel like this one almost deserves, like, creating a new, like, bottom. Because, like, these ones are better than this one. But, like, this one's just bad. Like, you are in mono white, so you do plenty of token shenanigans. But, like, aren't there better things to put in the command zone? Can't you just put Garaha? Can't you just put this guy? One of these ones? There's plenty of other options. Like Steelskin. Lifelink. For 2 mana, target opponent gains control of another target permanent you control. If they do, you draw a card. A little bit of draw power. 1 mana for 1/2 lifelink, so that's a pretty good stat line there. You do have to give control of something to your opponent. You do have that, what's the one with the cat on the front? 9 lives something. So it does work out, like, pretty well with, like, having a win con there. But are you relying on drawing that one card? I don't think so. Do you have enough things in mono white to give to your opponent? Once again, I don't think so. So it's hard to put him as a commander, but, like, there are good things that go with him, especially with a little bit of draw power that he gets. I think it's just fun to give stuff to your opponent, though, and see what they do with it, especially if you run stuff like Yes Man or the Rope. I forgot what its name is. I think it still deserves a solid C. I think that little bit of draw power, the little bit of, like, it's just a fun little shenanigan you could do. It's not going to be the top tier of top tier commanders, but, like, if you have a fun rule zero conversation like this is my one, I'm just going to give you guys stuff to play with. I feel like that could be pretty fun. I mean, I'm sure there's also, like, plays you could win with that, but, like, not that many, not enough. Next, we have one Taru. Whenever this creature enters, draw a card, and target opponent may draw a card. Another amount of playing with your opponents. Okay. Good for politics there. Whenever an opponent draws a card, if it isn't that player's turn, create a tap treasure token. Only happens once each turn. I mean, we have ways to make our opponent draw stuff. I mean, I feel like there's a lot. Especially in mono white. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of cards in mono white that are just like, your opponent draws a card, and you draw a card equal to the amount of opponents who drew a card. I think it is a little bit, it's just draw power is the only thing. So, like, I feel like it's hard to build around without just, like, giving your opponents advantage. But, like, I think better than Steelskin, but not as good as, like, our other B tiers. So I think, like, high B, low C. Like, Steelskin is low C to me currently. But, like, fun factor? Low B. What is this next creature we have? Sorry, I have to look for the names. While we look for that, we may as well just cover Zach Fair, because I know that one. When Zach Fair enters, put +1/+1 counter on it. Cool. Zach Fair gets removed. Sacrifice him for 1 mana. Put his +1/+1 counter on his equipment onto another creature. No way to start your game plan. Good in other decks? Very much so. Really good in the Eric deck, for example. You move all his plus. Is he good in the Cloud deck? He's good in this deck. He's good in plenty of decks. But as his own commander, I feel like you'd have trouble there. Like, just justifying it over, like, Cloud or... Forgot her name. But I know she's good. Okay. And this other one that we're missing is... Oh, we already did this one. This is the same as... Where is she? This one, isn't it? Nope, that's the wrong one I grabbed. Where was this one? It's around here somewhere. I think it's this one. Okay, now we still need to find the name of this one, because I frankly don't remember who this creature is. Oh, there we go. Drains to Waters. Flash. Once again, don't really like Flash in the command zone. Enters another target legendary permanent you control. Gains indestructible for as long as you control this creature. Okay, so longer than Zach Fair gives. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Durant's Water gains indestructible to end the turn. Wait, what? Whenever you cast a until end of turn. So non-creature spell synergies in mono white flash though. So like you could give something indestructible. But your opponents will see it coming in a command zone. So like one similar to Zach, I feel like good in the deck, not necessarily on his own. Let me make sure that this still looks, yep, still looks okay. Alright, let's pause here for a little second while we get to mono blue. And we're back. Here we are with Edgar, King of Figaro. When Edgar enters, draw a card for each artifact you control. That could be a lot of draw power. The first time you flip one or more coins each turn, those coin flips come up heads and you win those flips. That is some shenanigans. I like that. Are there enough coin flip cards in mono blue is the only thing. I feel like red and green normally no, red's more so like dice rolls. How many are there enough coin flip cards is the only question for that. I mean, even still, you're getting all that draw power. I think that's a solid B tier. And you're in mono blue. It's not like you're in like mono white or something. You're in like a color where you get all your counter spells, so you can wait until you get that card on the board to remove stuff. We're back with the counterpart for this creature. Alphanad Lavouille. Vigilance. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, draw a card. So these two work really well together, allowing you to get that same amount of like what's it called synergy with casting your second spell every turn, but on its own, draw one card every turn. It's okay. Are you running that on its own, like as a commander, like evaluating this in a vacuum? I don't necessarily think so. I feel like you'd have trouble, but like the little bit of draw power is nice, and like pairing it with the other Lavouille card, I think puts it up there for me. But moving on from that one to another fun one, we have Gogo, Master of Mimicry. For 3 mana, for 2/4, you pay XX to copy an ability X times. I just think that's a really fun ability, especially if you run in like a Jiraha deck. If you run just like all abilities that have the, what if, oh no, it's activated or triggered, other mana abilities. But I mean, think about how many abilities that could be. I think that could be an S tier in all honesty. Like, I think it deserves to go up there. May have to start moving some stuff around. Like, I think that does definitely deserve S tier. Yeah. Moving on from that, we have Hermes, Overseer of Elpis. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, get a bird token with flying and vigilance. Whenever you attack with one or more birds, scry 2. I don't know how to feel about this one because I really like birds. That could be a lot of birds, but like, are you running this over this? I just think you'd overwhelm your opponent with enough birds. So whenever you attack with one or more birds, you scry 2, so it doesn't matter how many birds you swing in with. And there's no real way to token double in blue. So it does suffer a little bit there. Let's think. Do we think it deserves C tier or B tier? I think, honestly, with just the amount of birds you get, I think it deserves low B, high C. But everything else we've been doing that for, we've been putting into C tier. So let's put it into C for now. As always, we just move stuff around. We don't need to worry about where it is. It could always be moved. And you always make your own list. I'll leave the link down there in the description. Next up, we have Huravalzagar of the First Brood. 5 mana for a 5/5. Nice. Flying, Vigilance, War 2. A lot of abilities for a 5 mana 5/5. Whenever he enters, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, +1/+0 to end the turn and can't be blocked this turn. It already had flying, so I mean, it basically couldn't be blocked already. And is this as good as making birds off of casting your non-creature spells, though? You get additional power, but with flying, but you also get additional power with flying and vigilance. But this goes away. That doesn't. Those don't go away unless your opponent has removal. Um, hmm. I think they're pretty close. I think this is still like a C tier. Then again, it doesn't really have any way to start the game plan, but it sets you on course for like what you're wanting to do. So I think still solid C there for me at least. I could see the argument for D just because like you don't have a way to start your game plan, and that's how we've been ruling like some of the other cards. But like, I just think that's really good not being able to be blocked with a super strong creature. I mean, it's better than like Lifelink, which is a strong creature. It's better than draw one card per turn. I think that's yeah. I think it's deserves C. Next, we have Jill, Shiva's Dominant. When Jill enters, return up to one target non-land permanent you control to its owner's hand. So similar there to Ambrosia, which Ambrosia might be C tier just because of the bounce ability, but I don't think that's enough. But Jill does have the second ability, a 5 mana transform into Shiva, Warden of Ice. Target creature can't be blocked this turn, or tap all lands your opponents control, exile Shiva, then return them to the battlefield. Can you get another counter onto this in order to stop your opponent from playing during their turn? Or does this have to be used during your turn? I think it's mono blue is the only thing. I think it ends up right next to Ambrosia, in all honesty, in the D tier. Just, it does some stuff, but like, I don't feel like it's worth it as a commander. Like, will it do stuff? Will it progress your game plan forward? Potentially, but I don't think enough for it to be worth it in the command zone. Like, bouncing one card and then pay 5 mana to do the other ability, that's a lot of mana. But on to the next one, we have Lulu, Stern Guardian. Whenever an opponent attacks you, choose target creature attacking you, put a stun counter on that creature, and she could proliferate. This could be a poison commander. No draw power, no search power. So definitely C or lower. That's how we rank all these other ones. 3 mana, like people will attack you. Opponent attacks you specifically for this. So I think it will end up in D tier. As much as I do like Final Fantasy X, I don't think it's worth like higher than that. Next we have Matoya, Archon Elder. I think this one's gonna be solid C tier. Whenever you scry or surveil, draw a card, 3 mana for 1/4. I mean, it's gonna draw you a lot of cards at a certain point in the game. And just having that much draw power could be like really useful, especially building around that. But like, I don't think it gets up to the B or A tier just because it doesn't. It draws you a lot of cards, and that's about it. I feel like as like a commander player, that's like hard to have that be the only thing it does. Because like next we have Owaka, Traveling Merchant. Once again, he removes counters and draws you cards, but like we're in blue. We don't necessarily have that many counters that we're going to be putting things on. Like, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of things in blue, like Simic, to get +1/+1 counters, especially if you're running Merfolk. But, like, is it enough to put as a commander? If you're running Merfolk, like, Explorers, like, aren't you just running, like, a Merfolk commander? If you're running Oaxaca, like, it is still a tap ability, so you have to ways to untap it to keep drawing cards. That's the only thing. Like, I don't know, 'cause I think maybe this one B tier, just because how many cards it could draw. And Oaxaca C, or is Oaxaca D? I don't know, I think Oaxaca deserves C, but like, the tap maybe does deserve D. I think low C, high D, I think low B, high C, based upon the amount of cards that I could each draw you. Next up, we have Quintus Trape, blue magic. For 3 mana, we have when this creature enters, you may cast an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard with mana value of any type. Mana value of any type can be spent to cast a spell. That spell will be put into a graveyard, exiled instead. So you get 1 spell back. Is it worth 3 mana for you to get? Is it instant or sorcery? I was gonna say Omnipotence back. But is it worth 3 mana to get? Well, no, you still have to pay for the spell. It's a little bit of recursion. So, like, I still... no. I think still D tier. I don't think that does nearly enough to be warranted as a commander. Like, recur one spell is basically what that card says. Like, you could blink it, you're in blue, you have plenty of ways to blink it. So, like, that's fair. But, like, is it enough for it to go over, like, other commanders that could do the same thing? I don't necessarily think so. But next up we have Riku, Resourceful Guardian. Whenever you put one or more counters on a creature until end of turn, that creature can't be blocked by creatures your opponent controls. Okay, I don't know what else it would be blocked by. 1 mana to cast Steal, move a counter from target creature and opponent controls on target creature you control. I mean, no draw power, no surge power. So C or lower is basically what we've been doing. Well, I mean, B has also been... B's just been our favorites, I feel. Like, ones that don't necessarily do that much, but, like, still really fun ones. Creature can't be blocked. And it just doesn't have enough ways to, like, progress your game state, I feel. Let's go ahead and adjust this video real quick. Sorry, just trying to decrease the screen size so that we could... Yeah, there we go. This way more things could fit in there. There we go. Alright, next up we have... What's this creature's name? Ultimecia, Temporal Thief. Whenever this creature enters, tap all creatures your opponent controls. That's fun. We could have some tap shenanigans, especially with the new Spider-Man card coming out with this. But is it good as its own commander? Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. We're in blue. How much combat damage are we doing? 6 mana for a 4/4 on top of that. But tapping all your opponent's creatures. You can put plenty of stun counters if you're in blue. So that could be okay. And like it allows you a turn to get that draw power off. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player. So it doesn't care how many... that could be a lot of draw power. So I think similar to Waka, I think it does deserve C tier based upon the amount of draw power that you get. Next up we have this octopus thing. Yep, it is an octopus. Ultros Obnoxious Octopus. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, if at least 4 mana is spent to cast it, tap target creature an opponent controls, put a stun counter on it. If 8 or more was used to cast it, put a +1/+1 counter on Ultros. Oh man, we could tap their creature and have this be a 3/2. Only for 8 mana? This is easily going D tier. I could see like the logic behind running it, being plenty of stun counters on things, but I just don't think it deserves any higher than D tier. Like, that's just not enough in the command zone, and it doesn't like progress your game state any further. But speaking of really good commanders, we're here with Y'shtola Rule as our final mono blue commander. At the beginning of your end step, exile target creature you control, aka blink creature. Does what... Where was it? Jill does. Then return into the battlefield under its own control. First end step, this turn get an additional end step. You just run a whole bunch of things that happen during the end step, like we built that deck around. That is really powerful. I mean, I just think this is... I don't think it deserves S tier, because this is more so like a card I'd put in a deck where it's just like, during the end step, do blah blah blah, more than I would build its own deck around it. Like, I'd want it to focus on the commander more than I want it to be the commander itself. But I could see the purpose of it being commander, because honestly, when this card was first announced, I was just like, ooh, I'm building this one. And I built it for a video. Not actually building in real life, though. I'd say solid B tier still, though. Alright. Since we've finished another color, I'm just going to take a little break while I pause this, and I'll be right back. And we're back with Mono Black. Starting off, we have Arden the Usurper. For 8 mana, you get a 4/4. Demons you control have Menace, Lifelink, and Haste. That's pretty good. At the beginning of combat on your turn, exile up to 1 target creature from a graveyard. If you exile a card this way, create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's a 5/5 demon. I think that's really cool. I think you deal a lot of damage for that, because that 5/5 now has Menace, Lifelink, and Haste, and you get to recur anything from your graveyard. It doesn't necessarily have to be a big creature. You can keep putting your little guys in the graveyard in order to get them back as 5/5s. Is it worth? It does have the recursion, so I think it's C or B. Like, I know most of our recursion cards we're putting down in D tier, but I think this one's definitely better because it gets you a creature on board that could attack that turn. And like Demon Tribal is just already pretty good. And if I have a commander for it that could like help benefit them a whole bunch. So, like, you don't even necessarily have to run like a whole bunch of cards you want to reanimate. You could just reanimate your opponent's stuff. Oh no, from a graveyard. I think that's a solid B tier. Next up, we have Cecil, right? I think that's this card's name. And this one was like the first Final Fantasy card announced. Sorry, just trying to look up its effect. We're getting to it. 1 second, let me pause. And we're back. Cecil Dark Knight has Death Touch. Whenever he deals combat damage, you lose that much life. Okay. Then, if your life total is less than or equal to half your starting life total, untap Cecil. Whenever Cecil deals damage. Okay, so not all your creatures. What's his other side do? Where he transforms his lifelink. Okay, so you get your life back. And whenever he attacks, other attacking creatures you control are indestructible. Is that worth in the command zone? How do you build around that? Do you just build like combat centric? In theory, yes, but like I don't necessarily think that'd be too fun. Yeah, no, I don't think it really deserves any higher than D tier. Like, I think there's definitely like tiers within D tier that we have, which maybe we'll go back after we're done with this in order to sort that out a little bit better. But currently, I think just solid D. Next up, we have Fandinal Teforal Ascion. 5 mana for a 4/5. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, Surveil 1. Surveiling is nice. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent may sacrifice a non-token creature of their choice. Wait. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent may sacrifice a non-token creature of their choice. Okay. Each opponent who doesn't loses 2 life for each instant sorcery card in your graveyard. Oh, why is this the first time I'm looking at this card? That could be a whole bunch. That could pair really well. Well, it's mono black, but I mean, you're gonna have plenty of instant sorceries with how many kill spells you have in mono black. And you get to surveil and put those right into the graveyard anytime you cast your first instant sorcery. Well, not necessarily the first one, but like cast one, get another one to graveyard. That's a solid, because it starts your game plan by the surveil. It gets your game plan off by continuing to attack, and it's just at the beginning of your end step. Yeah, they do have the choice to avoid the damage. The choice to avoid the damage may move it down to A. But like being able to just deal that much damage could be really fun. Fang, Fearless Ilca. Whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, draw a card, lose 1 life, only once each turn. And it melds with a creature that's green, so it's not in the same color. So you can't run her as the commander and run the card it melds with. Huh. And you draw 1 card and lose a life once per turn. I mean, I guess there are plenty of ways to do instant sorcery speed, like instant speed, move stuff from your graveyard. I don't think it's good though. I think that's a low D for me. Yeah, no, it just doesn't. It hurts you, and you get to draw a card. No, not worth it. Gaius von Balser for our next one. When he enters, choose 1. Each player sacrifices a creature token. Each player sacrifices a non-token creature. Each player sacrifices an enchantment. Huh. Good removal. Is this good in the command zone, though? Well, I mean, you'll keep sacrificing this, and your opponents will keep sacrificing. Well, especially if you're playing against a token deck and you don't make any tokens. You don't necessarily have to have what you're sacrificing. But you could keep sacrificing this and keep removing your opponent's stuff. It is 4 mana, so it will cost a lot to keep getting back. I think this one could still be solid low C, high D, I'd say. I think that still puts us in D tier now. Next up we have Interceptor, Shadow's Hound, which doesn't have partner with Shadow. Interesting choice. Menace, assassins you control have Menace as well. Okay, so it pairs well with Shadow. Well, whenever you attack with one or more legendary creatures, you may pay 3 mana, return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped and attacking. So it gets around commander attacks, keeps getting it back on the board, keeps giving your assassins Menace. It's a good piece of recursion, but well, with Assassin's Creed, we did see there were a lot of good assassin cards. And I don't know, how would this pair with Shadow is the only thing. Shadow has Death Touch whenever Shadow deals combat damage to a player, so yeah, the menace benefits are there. You may sacrifice another non-land permanent. If you do, draw 2 cards. Each opponent loses life equal to the mana value to sacrifice permanent. So you keep sacrificing, what's his name? Interceptor. That would have been a really cool partner combo. Why didn't they do that? Probably because it's too good. I think I like what they're called, kindred strategies with having to type. Assassin is pretty good, so I think that's D. But I think Shadow himself, I think he's a B tier. We're doing pretty evenly so far for B tier. We don't have that many mono black commanders left. Next up we have Jack. I don't know what his subtitle is. Reluctant Guardian, Menace. Whenever he deals combat damage to a player, exile, return to the battlefield, transform. What's he transform into? I remember this one damaging me a whole bunch during pre-release. Each opponent discards a card and you draw a card. Nice. A little bit of draw power there. Each opponent sacrifices 2 creatures of their choice. And it's a 7/7 with Menace. For how much mana is that? 4 mana? Huh. And it has it had draw power on the first ability too. Okay, I think that's a solid B tier. The next one is a really funny one. Kane, Traitorous Dragoon. During your turn, he has flying, deals combat damage to a player. Player gains control of Kane. If they do, draw that many cards, create that many tap treasure tokens, and lose that much life. This could be really fun in the Y'shtola precon. And having that many treasure tokens helps you out a whole bunch. And, what else can you do? And draw power on top of that? I think that, you get mana, you get draw power. I think that's solid A tier for me. I mean, like, you do have to give it to your opponent, but, like, make a deal with someone and keep just passing it back between you two. Okay, you'll take 2 damage. So will he. And you guys will just keep trading that. I mean, I think that's solid A tier for me. Next up, we have Reno and Rude. Menace deals combat damage to a player. Exile a top card of that player's library. You may sacrifice another creature or artifact. If you do, you may play the exiled card this turn. A mana of any type can be spent to cast it. And deal damage with a 2/1 with Menace. I mean, it's in mono black, so you're not going to really have... You do have some ways to give it, like, Skulk and Unblockable. I just don't think it's worth it to put that in the command zone. Like, steal 1 card from your opponent maybe every turn. Next up, we have Sephiroth, Fabled Soldier. Enters or attacks, sacrifice another creature. If you do, draw a card. So we got that draw power there. Whenever another creature dies, target opponent loses a life, you gain a life. Okay? So we have ways to make our ability happen and ways to, transform it super easily. Flying, whenever this creature transforms, you get an emblem with whenever a creature dies, target opponent loses life, you gain a life. You may sacrifice any number of other cards. If you do, draw that many cards. Whole bunch of draw power, whole bunch of strategy that you can do in terms of like aristocrats there. Mono blacks are in the color for aristocrats. I think that's solid S tier. Just the emblem being like one of like the best mechanics in like all of Magic as well. Just helps you out a whole bunch there as well. Let's just do them in terms of how good we may think they are. Or, how we found them listed. Xenosia Gallus, whenever he enters, choose a creature an opponent controls. Then a turn, other creatures get -2/-2. So a little bit of a board wipe there for all your opponent's weak creatures. You're not in blue, so you don't have the ways to make your opponent's creatures like super weak frogs like you do if you were in black-blue for the Sephiroth -2/-2 card. Whenever chosen creature leaves the battlefield, transform this card. Okay. And then when this card transforms, chosen player. Sorry, as this card transforms into Shinryu, choose an opponent. When a chosen player loses the game, you win the game. So this is flying for 8. I mean, it does say you win the game, so you're gonna win the game with this card. This Jack deserves C and this deserves B. I think this deserves B just because, like, I feel like it would do better in black blue, but, like, still does really well in mono black. And, I don't know, just does really well. Next up we have Vincent Valentine. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies. Okay, so when only your opponent's creatures. Put a +1/+1 counter equal to that creature's power on Vincent Valentine. When he attacks, transform it. Trample, lifelink. Huh. So it keeps the counters. So there's a 3. So say your opponent's sacrifice is a 2/2 for 2. Your opponent's sacrifice is a bear, for example. You get a 5/4 with trample. Who could easily keep getting more powerful. Does he have any? He doesn't have a way to sacrifice things, but he does easily. I think low B, high C, just because I feel like I wish it had some draw power. There on it, like just a little bit something more to put it over C tier, and just because like I said, we're comparing these to each other, and just like the other mono black commanders in this set are just like above and beyond. Next up, we have Zodiac, Umbral God. Indestructible. Each player sacrifices half the non-god creatures they control of their choice, rounded down. Okay, so they just have 1, they don't sacrifice anything. Player sacrifices another creature, play +1/+1 counter on Zodiac. Mono black, you're on mono black if you're playing this as your commander, and it costs 5 for a 5/5 with Indestructible. It's a good piece of removal, but similar to, where was he? The one that wants your opponent's creatures to get removed. People don't like it when you have removal in the command zone. So people are going to attack you in hopes that you'll, be removed before you can remove their stuff. So I think, like, just because you're putting a target on your back, that lowers it a bit, and you don't have to draw power, and it doesn't make your opponent. The removal is nice. Don't get me wrong; it is still like a good card, but I don't think it deserves higher than C. Just because, like I said, removal in the command zone puts a target on your back. Next, we have Seymour Flux. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may pay a life. If you do, draw a card and put a +1/+1 counter on Seymour. 5 mana, 5/5, draw power. Use basically a Phyrexian Arena on a creature, on a 5/5 body for 5 mana rather than 3. Is that worth it? Do people still run Phyrexian Arena? Yes. Would you run Phyrexian Arena if it costs 5 mana and created you a 5/5 token? I think so. I think that puts in C tier, though. I don't think it's like going in like, yeah, I just think compared to some of the other creatures you have access to or commanders in mono black, I think it is just a little bit worse. Not like as good, at least. Next up, we have Siegfried, Famed Swordsman. For 4 mana, you get a 2/2. Whenever its creature enters Mildred card, put X +1/+1 counters on Siegfried, where X is twice the number of creatures in your graveyard. And it's menace, so it's hard to block. You do get some mill off that. It is 4 mana, though. But so hopefully you'll have cards in your graveyard by the time you put this out. I think it is similar to this dragon in the sense that it's like a hard to block big creature. But will you be getting enough onto your graveyard? You're in mono black, yes you will, and the mill helps him start off his own strategy. I don't want to put this one in D, but like compared to the other mono black commanders, I think D is he's just as good as Seymour. I think C. Yeah, he deserves C. Alright. So we have quite a few commanders still left to go. But let's take a little break as we get onto mono red there. And we're back with the mono red side of things. I hope you guys are also taking a little break. Every time I say let's take a little break, I hope you guys like pause the video for a little bit, take your little break, go grab a snack, and come back to the video and because this has been almost an hour so far, and I don't even know if we're halfway there. Not gonna lie. But yeah, on to the next one. We have Avalanche of Sector 7. We have Menace for a X3, where X is the number of artifacts your opponents control, so probably at least 3, because everyone's going to have at least a Soul Ring. So everyone's going to start with a Soul Ring but you. You know that's how it's going to go. Whenever an opponent activates an ability of an artifact they control, deals 1 damage to that player. So every time someone taps a Signet, someone taps a Soul Ring, someone taps a Command Sphere or Chromatic Lantern, dealing 1 damage to them. It's just a strong creature with Menace. It's similar to that dragon again. And it keeps burning your opponent, which is nice, especially mono red. But is it C tier worthy? I don't know. I think yes, just because of like the other commanders that we put in C tier. But like I think similar to like these 3 that have the similar effect now. Oh, sorry. I think they have the similar enough effect where like they are in the same tier, but I think like low C, high D for them. Next up, we have Barret Wallace. When Barret Wallace attacks, deals damage equal to the number of equipped creatures you control to defending player, only to defending player. So it's unlike Avalanche, you're not dealing damage to every player every round. You have no way to really start your strategy. He does have reach, which is nice for 4/4 for 4 mana. But still, I don't think he like starts up your strategy enough for it to be higher than D tier for you. Huh. I feel like this list is like how a list should go, like mostly C's and D, like a pyramid, where you're building up from the bottom. Next up, we have Cat Sith, Fortune Teller, a Cat Moogle. Good type there. 4 mana for a 3/3. At the beginning of combat on your turn, scry 1. Exile the top card of your library. After you do that, you may play that card this turn. When you exile a card displayed, target creature you control gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is that card's mana value. So you just run a whole bunch of high mana value cards. Duh. And it's a little bit, it's basically draw power. When can you cast that card too? You may cast it this turn. And he needs to attack, so you probably wouldn't have cast him the same turn that you, did this. So I think, and he could be a pretty strong creature. But I think similar, yeah, I think solid C tier. Like high C, low B for this one, I'd say. But next up, we have Clive, Ifrit's Dominant. Discard your hand, draw cards equal to your devotion to red. So you start off with 2. Okay, so if you discard 0, draw 2. 6 mana, transform him. Fight target creature. Ooh, I just started playing this game and I get that reference. Ugh. Add 4 red mana. 3 more lore counters on it. Exile and return it to the battlefield. Transform back as Clive. So you keep getting that draw power. You keep getting that removal. I think that's really good. I think that's a solid S tier. Cause once again, though, the only thing is the thing is the removal's on the backside of the card. So people are gonna forget that you have removal in the command zone. And also just like with all the discard strategies with red, I think that's, what does it deserve? A? Does it deserve S or is, you let me know in the comment section what you think it deserves. Next up we have what looks like a equipment commander, which there will be plenty of that. Equipped creatures you control have haste. Whenever a non-token equipment you control enters, create a token that's a copy of it, except it has this equipment cost 2 less to activate, and sacrifice at the beginning next upkeep. Okay? So, makes it so you could keep using equip abilities, especially with your swords, doubling up sword abilities. He basically does similar to Cloud, where he doubles up the effects of like certain equipments, but this could be just whichever ones you cast this turn, and the haste enabling is really good. Does he deserve A or does he deserve B? Because he doesn't have any draw power on him, no search power. So I think still B tier. Do I have Eric ranked too high? I think I might. But like, I like the A tier commander so far. Next up we have Freya Crescent. Flying during your turn. You get red mana. And you only to cast equipment, spell, or activate an equip ability. Do you have better equip commanders? We've already seen one. Do they tap for mana? No. Can they? Is there many ways to use mana in red? Yes. Does it deserve any higher than D tier? No. Okay. Yeah, I think it's D. Like, the mana is nice, but like, what are you building with that? Are you just building an equipment deck where you get to add 1 mana from the command zone? Or are you building like one of the other various good equipment commanders in this format? Once again, comparing them to each other. We're not just comparing them to themselves. But next we have Gao Feral Youth. Whenever Gao attacks, put +1/+1 count on it. Cool. We have each end step. If a card left your graveyard this turn, Gao deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. Okay, so a little bit better than Barrish because it does to each opponent. How often are cards leaving your graveyard in red? And he does keep getting stronger, so you keep dealing more damage is the thing there. I think still though, I don't think it does enough to go into C tier because it doesn't kickstart your strategy too much. You don't have any ways. You have to have stuff in the graveyard in order to have it happen. Now, each end step. So if you can't rely on your opponents too much, because like how often are your opponents gonna remove stuff from your graveyard? Seeing that in the command zone. Well, maybe they'll do it before you. Can do it. And flashback, I guess, but. So once again, it doesn't start your strategy. It just helps you out a little bit, dealing a little bit of burn damage, maybe, if your opponent didn't remove it last turn. But next up we have Gilgamesh, Master of Arms. When Gilgamesh enters or attacks with the top 6 of your library, you may put any number, as opposed to Ash, which is just 1, from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of the library. Okay, so no mill assist there. Put 1 or more equipment onto the battlefield. This way you may attach 1 of them to the Samurai. I think, because it's similar to this where it gets around equip costs, but it's better because it has a draw power. Is it good enough for A tier though? Is it better than this? Because it doesn't enable haste, and he can't attack the turn he comes down because he doesn't have summoning sickness. But he does the equip thing, he does the search thing, he does everything you want in a command zone. But 6 mana is the only thing. But you just get a Swift Foot Boots to make sure you attack the turn he comes down. You get that ability twice the turn he comes out. And you're in red, you just run a Panharmonicon, stuff like that. Yeah, I think that's an A tier. Next up we have, is this Kafka? It's something along those lines. What is this card's name? Nope, this is Go-Go, Mysterious Mime. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you have Go-Go become a copy of another target creature you control. Go-Go gets +2/+0 on haste, and it maintains its name. So you double up at the beginning of combat on your turn. So you become your strongest creature that you already have for 4 mana. You're gonna have, so you become a Clive, or like whatever Clive transforms into, Ifrit something. He needs other creatures on the board to work well, but like what he does do is really good, especially if you make him into like a Nariv, like Heart of the Storm, or like another way to like double damage. He's just a creature he's basically a 4/2 with haste already, but like, is that good enough to warrant B tier? I don't think so. I think that's still solid C though. I think like not like bad C. I think solid C. Next up we have, is that Lightning? No, it's a Lightning card. Yep, Lightning Security Sergeant. Menace. Whenever Lightning deals damage to a player, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card for as long as you control Lightning. Oh, so that sticks around for a while. It's a little bit of draw power. We put our other pieces of recursion, like cheap little draw powers like Ash and C. I honestly feel like I should have done a 5th tier, but then you guys wouldn't be able to see like much. And Menace, but she does need to deal with combat damage. She does have Menace, so she does do that easily. I think still C tier. Now, yep, let me pause this while I fix the aspect ratio. 1 second. Hopefully that's still big enough for people to see. I mean, you guys probably weren't able to read the card names to begin with because it's just the arts. But on to the next commander, we have, and I pulled this one, Promptu Argentum. Haste whenever you cast a non-creature spell. If at least 4 mana is spent to cast it, create a treasure token. A little bit of ramp. Okay, but you need to cast 4 mana or more. Haste, he doesn't need haste. I don't know why he doesn't need to attack for anything. D. Next up we have the one that creates wizards that I like. What's her name now? Queen Brane. Prowess. Whenever Queen Brane attacks, see, she could have used haste. Create 0/1 wizard token with whenever you cast a non-creature spell, deal 1 damage to each opponent. I mean, you could do extra combat spells. You're in mono red. Actually, and it could keep creating them. She's a 2/1 for Jory, but like she progresses your game plan pretty far forward. She doesn't have any draw power, but I think it's enough. I think it's enough to not need draw power to be put in D tier here. Next up we have Rabban Bola of Almigo. War to pay life equal to his power. Okay, so obviously there's something to power him up, right? Attacks, attach up to 1 target equipment you control to target attacking creature. Okay, so this one equips as many as possible. Sorry, this one, he doesn't equip as many as possible. One of the mono white ones does. Huh. He has no way to start the game plan by getting you an equipment. So obviously C or D. I think D. I think this one's not great. Like, just equip 1 card to 1 creature is essentially what he says when he attacks. Is that good enough for a command zone? Not for me. Next we have Sabine, Master Monk, Double Strike. Discard 4 mana, discard a card to have him enter with haste. Creature card. You may cast this card from your graveyard using its Blitz ability as well. So 4 mana for a forgery that can be cast from the graveyard with Double Strike. Well, 5 mana for a forgery with Double Strike normally. You have to discard a card. It doesn't have a way to start your game plan. Doesn't have a way to like really get you on the board. I think that's a D tier again. Oof, red is not shaping up to be like the most powerful thing here. Like, are there good cards? Yeah, but like, I think so far Mono Black's been my favorite out of like the cards that we've gotten. But next we have Safar, Almacet. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gains Double Strike till end of turn. Okay, so similar to Squall actually. What's the second ability? Does he also revive something manager or less? Deals combat damage to a player. You may cast 3. Whenever he deals combat damage to a player, so if he attacks alone, that's twice. Cast target instant or sorcery with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. The spell will be put into the graveyard and exiled instead. I think that's A tier for me. Being able to double strike and get 2 instant or sorceries from your graveyard for free? Sign me up. There we go. Sorry, I just noticed something was in the corner. What do we got next? We are up to Strago Realm. 3 mana, target opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile an instant or sorcery or creature card. That could be anything, essentially. You may cast a card without paying its mana cost. Oh. If you cast a creature spell this way, it gains haste. At the beginning of the end step, sacrifice a creature. It only is a sorcery. 3 mana, 6 total. I think that's B tier just because you get a free spell. Like, I think maybe a little bit lower, potentially. Wait, let me pause this as I fit the aspect ratio again. But I do see it as being super powerful. On to the next one, we have Umaru, Raging Eddy. Trample, 6/6 for 6. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose 1 at random. I don't like random. Other creatures you control get +3/+0 and gain trample. That'd be pretty okay. Discard your hand, draw 4. That's fun. Deals 5 damage to any target, but it's random. So you're either removing a creature, giving either dealing damage to your opponent or you're drawing some cards. None of those are bad abilities. So I think that puts him in C tier for us. I think once we get through all the monocolor cards, I think we're gonna have to take all the monocolor cards out and go back to starting the tier list over again. Just so that we have a room here, because, currently looking at this, there's no room to put anything else without, not being able to see anything. But following up with mono red, we have Von Street Thief, 3 mana for 2/2. Whenever one or more scouts, pirates, or rogues control deals damage to a player, exile a top card in that player's library, may cast it. If you don't, create a treasure token. How long do we have to cast it? I don't know how long we have to cast it. Whenever you cast a spell you don't own, put a +1/+1 counter on each scout, pirate, and rogue. So we got ramp, we got draw power, we got +1/+1 counters, we got kindred. I think that's B. And there's a whole bunch. It starts up your game plan. That's basically everything you want to do as a commander. Let's do Zeldinth next, just because I like to go out or sometimes. Play an additional land each of your turns. +1/+0 for each land you control. Return a land from your field to your hand end of every turn. This one was really fun to build. Like, just mono red, like, landfall. It's not necessarily the strongest, but that little bit of ramp does help. Like, he's fun, but, like, it's not necessarily that strong. And nope, we already did Vincent. This is Vincent Valentine, I thought, right? Yeah, Vincent Vengeful Toner. Menace, whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on Vincent. Okay, so he doesn't get that strong. Deals combat damage to an opponent. It deals that much damage to each opponent. Wait, whenever... Oh! So Menace... That'd be a lot of damage. And he is hard to block with the Menace. Is it worth B tier? I think that could be a lot of burn. I think still, though, getting him up there takes a bit of work. So I think that still puts him in C tier, in my opinion. Like, I'm sure there's plenty of ways, like wood equipments, where you can get him stronger, but, like, is that as good as our other B, A, and S tiers? I don't think so. And finally, for mono red, we have Yuffie Materia Hunter. She's ninjutsu for 1 in a red. Whenever she enters, gain control of target non-creature artifact for as long as you control Yuffie. Then you may attach an equipment you control to Yuffie. So steal your opponent's equipment, put it on her. Easy to get on the board. Are you running mono red with ninjutsu? Like, do you have enough stuff that won't be blocked? I'm not sure. I don't necessarily think so, though. I think D tier. As much as I want to steal people's soul rings, I don't think it's, like, as useful as, like, some of the other commanders that we've seen so far. But let's wrap up the monocolored video, which I'm pretty sure I'm doing, like, 2 separate videos, one monocolored, one multicolored. With Bards and Boko, 5 mana for a forgery, affinity for birds, so basically it's going to be 2 mana if you have enough birds on the board. Bards and Boko enters each other bird you control, deals damage equal to its power to target creature an opponent controls. So you basically board wipe your opponent and leave your stuff intact. Because it's deal damage, not fights. Especially if you have land enter already. Are there enough birds in green? You have Birds of Paradise. You have a couple new Chocobo cards. But I don't think enough birds in green to warrant going above C tier. Like, if it was green, white, blue, like Choco, maybe. But I think just like being in mono green sets back a little bit. Next up, we have... What's this card's name? Bergenon Wise Elder. Reach at the beginning of your upkeep. If you control a creature with power 7 or greater, draw a card, which we're in green. It's easy to do, and add 1 mana of any color. So draw power, ramp. But is it the best thing at ramp? It's only 2 mana for a wondery, easily removed. It does have reach. I wish I could put it higher than C, but I think still C is where it belongs. Where's it B? I think maybe B. No, it does too much to just be C tier. Just run a strong creature deck. What's the worst that can happen? Next up we have Diamond Weapon. One less to cast for each permanent card in your graveyard. We're in green. We have plenty of ways to do that, so that's nice. Prevent all combat damage that we dealt to Diamond Weapon. Huh. So it's basically a 2. This could eventually be a 2-mana 8/8 that doesn't take damage from combat. Is that enough though? I mean, like, you're in green, so you have ways to do it. It doesn't have trample, so you'd have to put ways to get trample into that. Similar to this, doesn't have enough way. I don't think it has enough ways to start the game. Well, I think it's an 8/8 with reach for 2 mana essentially at a certain point in the game. I think that's where it be. Next, we have Maester Seymour. Right? Is that his name? Yep. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, put a number of +1/+1 counters equal to Maester Seymour's power on another target creature you control. Monstrosity X, where X +1/+1 counters onto it. Where X is the number of counters among creatures you control. Okay, so if you waited a little bit, you could get a whole bunch of counters on something. That's just a whole bunch of counters on things, but I feel, are there better options? In this set, I don't think so. In general, yes, but we're trying to compare it amongst this set. Does that deserve C or D? I don't think any higher than that. I still think D though. Yeah, I just don't think it has enough to do better. And we have Professor Hojo, 2/2 for 2. The first activated ability activates its turn. Target, it's a creature you control. Costs 2 less to activate. Whenever one or more creatures you control becomes a target of an activated ability, draw a card. The ability happens once each turn. Wait, whenever one or more creatures becomes a target of an activated ability, draw a card. Okay, so he makes it cost less. He draws his cards off of doing it. Only once each turn. And like, I like that a whole bunch. I think that's an A tier for me. Yep, there we go. Harder any S tier mono green though. Like, I think he would be the closest one so far. Next we have Kina Q. If one or more tokens you control be created, create that many plus a 1/1 frog. I mean, Chatterfang does so well with just creating an additional 1/1 squirrel. But that's in multicolored and it has ways to win the game. You do have so many ways to double the amount of tokens you're creating. You have so many ways to power up the creatures. You're in mono green, so you have Crater Hoof Behemoth. But does it do enough? It doesn't create. It does create a token, and it puts a +1/+1 counter on itself. I think B tier. Yeah. Next we have. Oh, 1 second. I should know this card's name. But while we look at that one, we could still talk about a different one. We'll talk about Tifa. This one is a 1/2 for 2 with trample and doubles its power anytime a land enters the battlefield. So, I mean, you're in mono green. You have plenty of ways to get additional lands onto the battlefield. Let's just start there. Is that enough, though? I think so. I think you're going to have a 32/32 swinging on your opponent with trample by, like, turn 4. I don't think it's S tier. Like, it's not A, but it's hard to put below B, especially when you could do landfall with that. Like, but it's hard to put it higher because of, like, what else we have in other places. Next we have Saz Katsuroi. Whenever he enters, you may search your library for a bird or basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand. Okay, so we do have some synergy with Bartz and Boko. And you have attacks with a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, and double the number of +1/+1 counters on a creature. Search power, ways to further our thing. I think that's A tier next to Cloud. Like, Cloud, once again, doubles what we want to do and searches a card. This searches a card and doubles what we want to do. They basically do the same thing for all intents and purposes. And then we have Torgal, a Fine Hound. Whenever you cast your first human spell each turn, that creature enters with an additional +1/+1 counter. And for each dog or wolf you control, add 1 mana of any color. 2/2 for 2. We're in green, so we have plenty of access to other dogs. We're in green, so we have plenty of +1/+1 counters energies. We do tap for mana, but I don't think any hide and see for me for this one. Next up we have Tromel, Seymour's Butler, the guy with the huge hands. Each other non-token creature you control enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. Nice. Proliferate X times, where X is the number of non-token creatures you control that enter this turn. I didn't realize that was how good this card was. You get proliferation, you get counters. All your stuff enters with the counter, so you have stuff to proliferate. You don't want tokens, is the only thing. Is it worth B tier? Or is this our S tier for this one? No. Doesn't draw or search anything. I think that's still a B tier though. And then our final one is... Oh. This is another one of those meld ones. I forgot its name. But I just know that it's okay. So we're just going to put in D. I forgot what it does. Not going to try to go into it. But thanks so much for coming out to the video. Hope you'll stay tuned while we cover the second half of the commanders, the multicolored ones.